Seattle, I'm Ursula Royteen.
Listen on your smart speakers, Amazon, Google Home, and Apple HomePod. KIRO Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk, powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on KIRO Radio. This is The Big Lead.
Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio and streaming on Facebook Live. Welcome to The Big Show. I got to tell you about a phone call I got this morning.
Okay.
About 8 o'clock this morning, sitting doing show prep.
Anything before 8 or around 8, I get scared when it's really late at night or early in the morning.
Well, I knew the person is in my contacts.
Okay.
And so I knew who was calling. And it's a very, very, very well-known person. I would guess that almost everybody listening would know this person's name, which I am not going to say.
Okay.
So I've been goofing around for the last couple of months with, I should run for governor. I've been saying that as a goof, right? I'm going to have helicopters picking up cars,
right,
going too slow in the left lane, and, just goofing a little bit. This person has an incredible track record of success at pulling off audacious things. Has a incredible batting average.
Okay.
This is crazy. He says that he has $15 to $20 million lined up if I will seriously run for governor.
Are you?
I'm not kidding.
Kidding.
I'm not kidding.
I'm hearing this for the first time.
Oh, I know
I just walked up from downstairs.
I know. I filled Nicole in this morning. But I have to, because I've said all along.
But have you fully been goofing? Because there are,
No.
I mean, every time you mention it, there are tons of people who say you should.
I think our state's screwed up. And I've had a couple of the people who want to challenge Inslee on the show. I've had the Bothell Mayor, Joshua Freed, and he seems like a really good guy. I've had the police chief in Republic. He seems like a really good guy. They're not going to beat Inslee. You would have to try something audacious to beat Inslee. And so there was this part of me, because I do think that, first of all, I love this state. I've spent my entire life here. I grew up here, raised my family here. I had choices. I love this state. And there's so much of it that's screwed up that there's a part of me that was semi-serious. But not really. Because what I've said all along is I would love to run. I would love to win. And I have this, I think I've earned the cockiness that I have, that when I set my mind to something, I usually succeed at it. And so
Very competitive.
I truly believe that if I chose to do it, I would figure out a way to win. I truly believe that. And then I would hate the job. So that's been kind of my thinking all along. That what an incredible life challenge that would be. But have you not? I'm going to just challenge you here for a second. Have you not talked about that love of where you're still fighting for something, and there's something that you're trying to reach? It's like where you aren't done with all the goals that you have. Right. And I love this show as passionately as I've ever loved it. But there's a difference between, the struggle 25 years ago to get the show and then to make it succeed and make it, one of the longest running, versus maintaining where we're at, which is at a really good high level. But it's not that rush that I had when I was 32 years old.
Mm-hmm. So what did you tell this person?
I said that we will sit down and meet. But then here's what's so screwed up about politics, though, and why I think politics corrupts almost every single person that goes into it. So I hang up the phone because thinking that all these people with significant resources.
I mean, $15 to $20 million I mean, put that into perspective.
I don't know what it would cost to run a campaign, but it was suggested that that would be enough to get the job done. I don't know what Inslee spent last time in 16 or whenever. Yeah, it was 16, I guess. So, but I don't want to change, and yet I'm not so naive as to believe that the whole process isn't corrupting. And I think there's a reason that almost every single person in politics is somebody who cares only about power and money and not at all about the mission that might have initially driven them to that pursuit.
Okay, this person who called you, now I'm starting to get suspicious a little bit. Is this person who called you someone you know would not just be trying to get you off the air?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes, he knows that.
Okay.
I am
and there
certain
is one
that
person
is
that
not
will,
the person's motivation.
there's one person we'll talk about later that is not in it for, or it would be going into it for a similar reason, who doesn't want to get into politics. Your new love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm in love.
Oh,
I've fallen
really?
in love. Platonic. Yeah, it's just strictly platonic. But I've fallen in love. So anyway, so here's how it screws up my whole thought process. So I still have about 90 minutes of show prep to do. And I stopped preparing for today's show, although I have since completed all the prep that I would normally do. But I started thinking, okay.
So did you have the conversation with your wife?
No, she doesn't even know about this yet. She was gone. She was off to work
So
already.
she's hearing it for the first time, too.
Yeah, you're hearing
Got it.
about this before my wife is. So then I go up and I take a shower. I get out of the shower, and I start doing a real campaign commercial in front of the mirror. And by the way,
That's not a good time to do it.
no, by the way, I decided that I will do all of my campaign commercials naked because it was such an effective kickoff to the campaign. But I started thinking, okay, seriously, in all seriousness, because, I had a bunch of people who came up to me at the Seahawks game and said that
Well,
I
just
should
look,
do this.
just look on our Facebook page.
I know, and that show we did in Federal Way,
Right.
they all said that they would support it. So then now I have to start thinking seriously. So what's the one thing that impacts and affects our lives more than anything here in the Puget Sound area? Now, again, I'd have to be governor for the whole state, and of course I love the rural people, and I love Central Washington, and I'd have to get to know Eastern Washington a ton better. But here it's traffic. It steals our life. It steals our time. And, Sound Transit's going to happen, even though I'm not a fan. But they're talking about, raising the Sound Transit cost to build tunnels to Ballard and West Seattle. And you know what? Screw that. That with my guiding hand as governor, if Seattle wants to do these little extra frills, then Seattle's got to pay for it, not the people of Pierce County who are in the taxing district and said no to all of this, not the people of Snohomish County who would get no benefit. So I would look out for these taxpayers in Pierce and Snohomish who are getting screwed because Seattle now wants to add billions of dollars to the cost by tunneling instead of the bridges they were talking about. But anyway, I don't like Sound Transit, but I'd have to work with them. But I'd want to protect the taxpayers who are getting abused by them. But I would look at every single pinch point. It's so stupid that we built this convention center in the middle of downtown Seattle on I-5, where it pinches down to one lane. And so you got this gridlock. And I don't know what the solution is, but I would sit down with the greatest transportation experts whose focus is on increased car mobility. Yeah, we'd still provide the buses and the light rail and all of that, but this war on cars, this contempt for all of the people who have to get around by car, it's going to stop. And I would bring in transportation people who are not anti-car zealots, which is all we have in the discussion these days. And I was thinking, could we even fly a bridge over the convention center? Ramp it up for a mile in each direction and get a bridge over the top of the convention center to reduce the congestion. You'd look at everything like that, but it's insane that people every single day are sitting in their cars for 45 needless minutes because nobody is thinking about them as part of the transportation picture. I would give tax breaks to companies that would start doing swing shift and graveyard shift. That wouldn't cost us a penny, but every car we'd get off the road, because companies would embrace that strategy and get a tax break for it. That's another way you could get it. And government workers who don't interact with the public, they'd work swing and graveyard to get them off the roads. That's a way to reduce traffic at zero cost. Zero cost. Look at what it is. What's a holiday that's a federal holiday that most people don't recognize, or most workers don't? Give me an example. When the banks are closed, but everybody else works.
Martin Luther King Day? Maybe?
Yeah, a lot of people take that off.
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day. Perfect.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, yeah. Those days, traffic is down just usually by the DOT count 10 to 15% because government workers aren't on the road. But suddenly you're going 55 miles an hour through Seattle instead of 5.5 miles an hour. All you have to do is get about 10 to 15% of the cars off the road, and makes a gigantic difference. So you give tax breaks to companies that'll do swing and graveyard. You give tax incentives for companies, like banks and Starbucks that have a lot of outlets, but maybe all their employees are not at the outlet closest to where the employee lives. You give them tax advantages for that. So you get rid of any anti-car zealots in government. You support sound transit and buses, but you get rid of the anti-car zealots, and you are supportive of the 97% of people who still take trips by car, and stop telling them they're the enemy because they got to get their kid to piano lesson after work. And then you got crime and drugs and homelessness. No more legalization of drugs. Dan Satterberg, Snohomish County, that's done. No more making this the magnet destination for heroin addicts all around the country. And for the homeless, focus with lasers on, we will give you housing, but you got to be clean and sober. We will get you treatment for your addiction so you can be in that housing. We will get you the mental health counts. The mental health system in this state is an embarrassment under Jay Inslee. We will get you the mental health treatment you need, and we will give you a ticket out of state to go to any place in the country where you have relatives who will take care of you. But no more sleeping on the streets in this state. We will give you love and compassion and care and help to get clean, to get warm, to get mental health, all of those things. But if you refuse all of those things, then you go into jail. If you do, your second option is to leave the state and go back to someplace you have family that'll take care of you and love on you. And if you refuse all of our help, if you refuse to go back to family that's out of state, then you're going to go to jail. We're not going to let people sit around on the streets anymore. And we'll start turning around lives and stop letting people kill themselves slowly, which is the most uncompassionate. Letting people, Kshama Sawant says she wants to stop the sweeps of homeless camps. Her strategy is to let people lie in the cold and the rain and in their own filth and commit crimes so they can shoot up heroin until they die. What a horrible public policy. And that is most of the public policy throughout our region. And it stops. It stops. We will give you every bit of help you need. We will give you the housing if you're clean and sober, and we will test to make sure that's a condition of you living in the housing we provide for you until you can rebuild your life and start taking care of your own life. And the crime? No more of this. We're not going to prosecute property crimes. We're, shoplifters can shoplift with impunity. It stops. And we'll stop hating cops, too. We'll stop this institutionalized hatred of cops that emanates from the left. We will not allow any rogue cops, but we will give them the support they need to enforce our laws. So we're the worst property crime state, or at least Puget Sound area, worst property crime region in the United States of America. That's got to stop. And our prosecutors are going to have to start prosecuting, and our cops are going to be able to start enforcing laws and not have to worry about, 2 hours writing something up and the prosecutor tosses it. And then sanctuary state is over. It's done. We'll do aggressively what Florida just did and make sanctuary not only illegal at the state level, but we will ban it, cities and counties, from embracing sanctuary. We will be welcoming and we will appreciate all the legal immigrants in our state, all the green card holders who are here legally, but we'll also enforce the real ID system, and we'll go after employers who aid and abet the problem. And sanctuary's over. Sanctuary's done. I'd have a constitutional amendment that I would somehow get through our radical legislature to ensure that there's never an income tax in this state. Come up with a small business owner's Bill of Rights when you have these city councils, flexible scheduling, and the minimum wage imposition, and all these things that are going to destroy our economy, that's going to turn us into a ghost town when we have an economic downturn. Go to work immediately on a small business owner Bill of Rights. And then, state budget's about $50 billion. I'd reduce it by 8%, $4 billion. We got about 4 million taxpayers. So that'd be $1,000 per person that we would return through reducing B&O taxes, reducing sales tax, all of those things. And that would be money in your pocket. I'm starting to think serious about this. Now, where it goes, I'll keep you posted. I'm not going to be mysterious and behind the scenes, but I will be honest. When somebody with a ton of credibility and a track record of incredible success says they have 15 to 20 mil lined up if I choose to pursue this seriously, I got to at least think about it. So those are the few of the ideas that I sketched out in my serious thinking about it just since I got the call this morning. And that is your big lead for today.
The Big Lead on KIRO Radio.
Okay, Ursula's going to check the news, and then we got a gun rights group that says these unconstitutional initiatives that have been passed in our state, they want to do a citizen's arrest of Attorney General Bob Ferguson. I'm on the Monson Show.